Hello management aspirants. In this video we will see the difference between IIFT test and the IIM CAT. Let's look at the main dimensions of this session: introduction, comparison, approach and strategy. IIFT is an abbreviation for Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. CAT is the abbreviated form of Common Admission Test. The test is conducted by one of the IIMs for their PGB programs. The IIFT test is for admission to the MBA IB program of IIFT. The CAT is a gateway to the PGB program of the IIMs and a plethora of other B schools in India. The tests have differed mainly in terms of the key physical parameters like the number of sections, the number of questions, the extent of negative marking, and of late, the mode of test conduct. If you look at the number of sections, this has been conventionally 4 in the IIFT test, barring a few exceptions. Now, when I say a few exceptions, I'm talking about the year 2009, where IIFT had 6 sections. In fact, 2 sections were on 2 different types of RCs. CAT, however, has experienced a wider number of sections, a wider diversity in terms of the number of sections. We have seen the number of sections in the CAT from 2 to 3 to 4. If I look at CAT 1995, if I look at CAT 1996, 97, 98, where we had 185 questions, we could see that these were mainly 4 section tests, whereas CAT 2014, last year, it was a 2-section test. CAT 2015 is proposed to be a 3-section test. CAT 2004, 5, 6, all 3-section tests. So the number of sections here has been 2, 3 or 4, whereas IIFT conventionally has been 4 with one exception which I discussed. The maximum number of questions in the IIFT test has been 150 and has seen even a dip to 118, which was in 2014. CAT, however, has experimented with a wider range from 60 to 185. 60, I'm talking about CAT 2009, CAT 2010, 2011, and 185, I go back to the years 95, 96, 97, 98. So we have seen a wider range in the CAT as compared to the IIFT. Negative marking in the CAT was undisclosed for a long time, and then it was stated as 1/4. IIFT on the other side has been 1/3. Now the only takeaway for the test taker from this point is that both the tests are penalizing you for guessing wildly and for wrong answers. Differential marks per section and even within the same section has been another feature of the IIFT test. Now differential marks per section would mean that different sections are given different weights. So this has been very typical of the IIFT test. However, in the CAT, we have seen it only in select years, like 2004, 2005, where we could see different sections having different weightages. In the IIFT test, even within the same section, we have seen differential marking. And this feature has been a key differentiator between the IIFT test and the CAT. The format for CAT 15 has been yet another surprise. It has been disclosed that CAT 15 will have 100 questions, 3 sections with quant 34, verbal and reading comprehension 34, data interpretation and logical reasoning at 32, 60 minutes for each section, 3 hours, and therefore one could see a sectional time limit. Whereas the IIFT test pattern has not been disclosed as yet on the institute website, but we will still go with the trend analysis, which kind of makes us believe that the IIFT test has not had any sectional time limits. The key differentiator in the IIFT test has been the section on general knowledge and awareness. This section has been consistently dominant in the IIFT test and has been an area of concern for the IIFT test takers. In fact, you would see that most of the sections, most of the test areas are common to both the tests. And this is the only difference between the two. Hence, the advice to the IIFT test takers is that you need to prepare this section additionally if you are taking the CAT and if you prepared for the CAT. This section has had a lower weight as compared to other sections, but still has been a key performance parameter. One has seen the weightage of this section being around 13 to 15% in terms of marks. In terms of number of questions, we have seen around 25 to 30 questions coming from this section consistently in the IIFT test. In fact, the section has experimented with both static and current components of GK. Static would be areas like history, geography, science, civics, Indian economy, whereas current would capture the essence of current affairs and whatever is happening in the environment around. There has been an inclusion of questions on a vast diversity in this section, popularly covering geography, international organizations, sports, etc. The number of questions from this section, as I said a while back, has been 25 to 30 with a weight of 13 to 15%, and this becomes important from a perspective of clearing the sectional cutoffs. My suggestion to the IIFT test takers is that please do not ill-treat this section. It is not a test of memory, it's a test of connect with the environment. I think we have seen most of the engineering students discounting it because they have to remember so many facts and figures. But this is not to discount the importance of intellect. This section is stiff in terms of your sensitivity to whatever is happening around you, to whatever has happened previously, and how these events have an impact on the future, and particularly business and economic domains. Approach and strategy. We'll talk about the difference between IIFT and CAT in terms of an overall approach and strategy. And for this, we need to appreciate that the common areas in the two tests are quantitative ability, data interpretation, logical reasoning, verbal ability, and reading comprehension. These components of the test are common to both the exams. So I think irrespective of the fact that you're taking an IIFT test or the CAT test, you have to prepare both the test from a perspective of being ready for these different testing areas. These sections need a similar approach in terms of preparation. Whether you, as I said, whether you're preparing for the CAT or the IIFT test, you need a similar preparation strategy for maths, English, and reasoning. The difference, of course, would be in terms of format of questions, in terms of level of difficulty, but by and large, the preparation strategy would not change for these different testing dimensions. It is suggested, however, that you split these areas into two broad dimensions, concept-driven and practice-intensive. Now, this is suggested to give a method to the approach so that you have a starting point. You know how to prepare a section like quantitative ability and how should you prepare a section like data interpretation. There is a difference there. So let's look at the difference. The quant ability area of IIFT has consistently seen questions on modern maths with topics like probability, permutation and combination, sets, functions, including maxima and minima. So one has seen a consistent representation of questions on statistics, probability distribution, and certain areas of modern maths in the IIFT test. However, CAT, of course, has been more packed with surprises. Certain years we have seen a dominance of these areas. Certain other years we have seen a complete absenteeism of these particular areas. For example, if I talk about CAT 99, out of 55 questions in the quant section in that year, 28 questions were sourced from modern maths. Whereas certain other years, like CAT 2004, we have seen a substantial decline in the number of such questions. IIFT test has seen a growing importance of geometry. Unlike CAT, where circles and triangles have been historically critical, IIFT has seen a representation of trigonometry. And here I'm talking about both heights and distances and trigonometric expressions. So the IIFT test taker has to brace up for this particular aspect of geometry. He or she needs to stress more on the trigonometric part of geometry and be prepared with questions on heights and distances as well as expressions. In fact, the IIFT data interpretation has been very calculation intensive. CAT DI, however, has been higher on the reasoning quotient. But again, these are observations which we have made on the basis of the past. It's an understanding of the trend analysis, and this does not mean that future CATs and future IIFTs would also follow along similar lines. This is just an input so that you are able to appreciate the past of these two examinations and plan things accordingly. IIFT logical reasoning questions have popularly focused on linear and circular arrangements, complex arrangements, and logical conditions and groupings. However, CAT remains a surprise, and there is no clear pattern in the logical reasoning section of the CAT. One has seen a diversity in terms of the pattern of questions, in terms of the difficulty level of the questions, in the CAT in particular. IIFT verbal ability has traditionally focused on fill in the blanks, jumbled sentences, errors in usage, and similar questions. However, CAT has been stiffer on the reasoning part of verbal ability, and again, no clear-cut pattern has emerged in the CAT over the years. Once again, the GK part is a critical differentiator. I've kept on saying it throughout this video that GK is one area which differs an IIFT test from a CAT in a big way. Whereas the other dimensions, as discussed previously, are by and large common, and they would need a similar strategy, barring certain areas of maths which are more dominant in IIFT as compared to the CAT. The overall strategy would not change. However, this one section requires a different approach altogether, and you need to prepare both static and current components. Coming to the static components, we suggest that you kind of refer to the material which we have put up on the Bullseye website. We have given you a clear-cut segregation of different areas of the environment. You can talk about the major testing dimensions in these particular areas. There are questions which are based on these various dimensions, and of course the current part is better prepared if you are a regular newspaper reader. Particularly, we suggest that you focus on political and economic events, international organizations, and stay updated with business news as well. Thank you.